Good day, everyone. This is Ethan, the moderator for this webinar. And actually, I welcome everyone for today's webinar, which is one of my favorite webinar, which is Form 1099 MISC and 1099 NEC Compliance Update 2023. So now I would like to introduce our presenter for today. His name is Jason Dennison. Jason is entrepreneur, tax expert, and CP presenter. Dennison brings over 15 years of experience helping individuals and business with accounting, bookkeeping, tax preparation, and business advisory in various industries. I would like to hand over the floor back to our speaker. Over to you, Jason.
All right. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 1099 webinar. We will talk heavily about 1099 NEC to independent contractors today. That's really our main focus. We touch some on 1099 miscellaneous as well, but the NEC is our main focus. Now, there's over 20 types of 1099s. Right now, there's 21 types of 1099s. That varies from year to year. There's always obscure 1099s that the IRS is either adding or subtracting. First of all, we're focusing on issuers of 1099s rather than recipients. So who has to file 1099? And the answer is businesses. That includes nonprofits, so churches and other nonprofits, charitable organizations, governmental entities as well file 1099. Start by talking about the dollar amount threshold, generally $600. Now that's on the 1099 NEC and miscellaneous, and also actually on most other 1099s as well. $600 is the key number. Now, so let's talk about what that means, $600 threshold. How do you determine how much you paid? What did you pay from January through December? What did you actually pay out? Do not look at invoices. Look at what you actually paid. Make sure, especially those payments in January and invoices received in December, make sure that you're making proper adjustments so that your numbers show properly on the 1099s that you issue. Payments to corporations are not reported on a 1099 in general. Corporations in general do not get 1099s, but there's 3 exceptions. So you have payments for medical and healthcare services, payments to attorneys, and then fish purchased for resale. On any of these 3, corporations do get 1099. And to be clear, it's not just corporations, it's anybody gets 1099s, including corporations. So let's move forward here and talk about medical and healthcare payments. This is box 6 of the 1099 miscellaneous. And really, it's any time that your business directly pays a medical professional. That could include things like pre-employment drug tests. The general thought process is that those drug screening companies are probably providing a medical service. And then you have legal payments, payments to attorneys, and there's 2 categories here. One is legal fees your business pays to your attorney. That is actually contract labor. And then the second time that you need to send 1099s to attorneys is with legal settlement. Right, now we get into the 1099K segment. So when you pay a contractor using your company's credit card or debit card, you do not report that payment on 1099 NEC. And then we have third-party processors. Third-party processors are places like Venmo and PayPal and any other. You have the contractor over here, you're over here. You want to pay the contractor using one of these platforms or apps. You don't generally report on 1099 NEC when you pay this way. This is not something that directly affects you, but I bring it up because I just think it's interesting to talk about. This all started, 1099K reporting, in the Affordable Care Act back in 2012. And ever since 2012, the reporting thresholds for the Venmos and PayPals of the world was so high that a contractor might not receive a 1099K at all. So the American Rescue Plan, that's the third stimulus bill, had said that this was all supposed to change for 2022. The American Rescue Plan had said it will be a $600 threshold if you receive 600 or more through Venmo or PayPal or other third-party processor. They'll send a 1099-K. So there's some potholes on that. And what we've talked about on the last few slides doesn't directly affect you, but this does. Second pothole, lots of words here. I think the best solution is pick a payment method and stick with it. If you're going to use apps, pick one app, Venmo or PayPal or Zelle, whatever it is, stick with it and learn the 1099-K rules. All right, how are we doing on time? Due dates. Yeah, there's lots of words on this slide. Here's the bottom line. January 31st is the due date on 1099 NEC to have it to both the contractor and to the IRS. Speaking of electronic filing with the IRS, electronic filing is required when the number of forms you're filing is 250 or more, and each type of form is counted separately. The Treasury Department in July of 2021 issued proposed regulations that called for that threshold to drop, and it was supposed to take effect immediately in 2021, but here's the thing. Proposed regulations have no force, and so none of this actually happened because the regulations have never been finalized. In fact, as of now, end of January, they still have not been finalized. So anyone can e-file even if they're not required to. If you're filing on paper, there's a couple of important notes. For the miscellaneous and NEC, you cannot just print off the IRS website, fill them out, and send them in. And when you file on paper, you have to do a form called a 1096. And the W-9 is where we turn next. It gathers really everything you need to know about your contractor. The contractor fills it out and gives it to you. But in the real world, typically you have to give the form to them is really how it works. They fill it out and give it back to you. Did you know usage of the W-9 is not required? There's nothing anywhere that says you must use the W-9. So if you're just paying an individual, they are a sole proprietor. They get 1099s. People mistakenly think an LLC is a corporation. It is not. The C stands for company, not corporation. And with 1099 reporting, you have to think of how LLCs are taxed, because how they are taxed is what drives the 1099 reporting requirement. How much responsibility do you have for making sure the W-9 is correct? Well, ultimately, this form is your contractor's responsibility. How often should you get new W-9s? There's no guidance, and technically, because it's really the contractor's form to fill out, theoretically, they should be filling out a W-9 and giving it to you, and if something changes, they should do a new W-9 on their own. But last segment, backup withholding. This refers to income tax withholding that's done on payment to contractors. One is you don't have the contractor's taxpayer ID number at the time you pay them. Second situation, you receive what's called a CP 2100 letter from the IRS. So before we get into the situation of you paid someone and didn't have their social security number, talk a little more about backup withholding, what it is, how you do it. If you research this, you go out and do a Google search, you'll find that there's accountants and tax attorneys out there who say you should issue the 1099 with the social security field blank, or write the word refused in the blank and send it off. If your business has a policy of no W-9, no pay, that will solve pretty much all of your problems. That brings us to the end. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, participants. So with this, we conclude the session for today. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. Have a great day.